Cast stone is a process that dates back to the Middle Ages in Europe, but it was first used extensively in London in the year 1900 and gained widespread acceptance in America in the 1920s. The Herpel family has been manufacturing cast stone for the Palm Beaches since the 1940s and still operates in much the same way today.
So Rick Herpel, thank you for welcoming us.
You're quite welcome, Bob.
And here we are,
welcome to Herpel.
Georgia Avenue, which is kind of the most amazing source for all the architects and all the trades and the designers, right?
It is. It's the source of pretty much all the Palm Beach homes. The designers, upholsterers, decorators, historically, all going all the way back to the turn of the century.
And it's still the source for all the designers.
Well.
Tell me about Herpel. You've been here for almost a century or more?
We have been here since the 40s.
Since the 1940s in this location?
In this exact location.
Right. So, but wasn't the business active back in the 20s when some of the big houses were?
Well, the business started in Connecticut before the Civil War.
Right.
And so I'm a sixth generation Herpel. So my great-grandfather came down here at the turn of the last century and started an operation in Fort Lauderdale and a pilot company in West Palm Beach. Started my father into the business, and here I am, so 6 generations.
And so you're making cast stone pavers and floor tiles and capitals for columns, and there's a huge variety of things that you make that are architectural elements. What are you going to show us today?
Well, I'm going to show you a lot of pieces that came from homes that we've restored. I've had the opportunity to work on practically, I think there might be 2 Meisner houses existing that I haven't worked on, all the rest I have, and for several owners. A lot of these pieces that we have were from the original homes, and we either did additions to, restorations to, and we took the original elements, whether they were busted up or not, and clayed them up, and made a mold of them, cast them in plaster, recarved them, so that we embellished the original design as well as the reliefs.
What are you going to show us today?
Well, we're going to look at some columns. We're going to look at manufacturing techniques, the texture, how we go about it, how we make the molds, some of the mold techniques, and some of the actual pouring.
What do we look at first?
Well, we are pouring currently outside with the flat material, which we use the baking soda, so that I think would be a nice start. And then we have the columns and things we can look at.
So we're talking about stuff like this.
This is the cast stone, yes, the original that Addison Meisner started making here in the 1920s. The texture is created by bicarbonate of soda, the same as you would bake a pie with.
Let's go look at the process.
Okay.
All right, so Rick, what are we looking at here?
What we're doing is we're pouring a step tread, which has a bullnose edge to it. This is a cement material that we pour into the molds that will give us the finished product of a step tread.
This is not high tech. This is exactly the way it probably was done centuries ago.
Centuries ago.
Exactly.
This technique is a good 200 years old. It's over 165 years old of my family's technique.
Okay, so this mold will be for tiles this size.
Each tile is formed up separately with the wood, so we can create different sizes. We're not limited to any particular size. So this creates a pattern that was designed by an architect, so we follow the architect's drawings.
Do they have to be baked in an oven?
No, they do not. They're air dried. The cement cures in 7 days, 27 days, and 27 years. So within 7 days, it's 3,000 PSI concrete.
So you can deliver it in a week?
We can deliver it in a week.
And there's no steel reinforcing required?
We don't use steel, we use fiberglass. So if we have a very linear piece, perhaps maybe 5 or 6 feet long, we use it. In the columns, we don't need it.
Okay.
Because it's a round shell like an egg.
Right, so depending on the size.
Yes. Now what he's doing is he's hitting it with a mallet, which kind of vibrates it and lets it settle down and makes a stiffer composition to it.
What's all the white stuff?
The white stuff is bicarbonate of soda. It forms the gas. And the gas, actually, when we pull this out like a pie, if you baked it, pulled it off, the bicarbonate of soda forms a void. That void gives a simulation of a natural piece of material.
That's how you get the texture.
That's how we get the texture.
Great.
Each one is done individually as though you salt and peppered it. So it's done, it's hand done, and everyone's different. So what we'll do is we'll go and face all of them, then the cement will set up, and they will actually trowel the back of it so it's perfectly flat. These are our casting tables where we do our standard sizes, which are actually like 24 by 24, 12 by 24, 18 by 18, 12 by 12. So we can do a mass production of a very primitive product.
But it still looks like it could be ancient Egypt.
It is the same process they've been doing for over 100 years.
And then the
Probably
materials?
Now this is the crushed coral rock. It's from Homestead.
Native Florida
Native
coral.
Florida, it's indigenous. And this is a silica sand, which comes from the Lake Okeechobee area, usually in LaBelle.
Okay.
And then we have our mineral oxide pigments over here that we mix into our mix in our cementing mixing system.
So the pigments, depending on what the architect specifies, he might be wanting a reddish material or a yellow.
We're imitating a natural stone.
There you go.
Finish and color and texture.
Okay. And so I notice over here you've got,
We have different colors here. These are a lot that we've used. Here's a 14 CP yellow. We've used it for years. We have what we call Herpel chocolate brown over here. Mahogany colors. Now it's not just a straight color. It could be this color. It could be 1 ounce. It could be 2 ounces. It could be 6 ounces of formula. Then we could combine the colors, and it could be a half an ounce of this or an ounce of that.
Right.
So we actually mix the colors just as you would do in paint.
Great. And so we're standing under the hopper for the big mixing operation, right?
So half of it is the aggregate, the coral rock, and the other half is the silica sand. That goes into our weigh hopper. It is weighed for a proper mix, and then we add our cement, whether it's a gray cement or a white cement.
And what kind? Okay, so it's Portland cement, either gray or white.
Either gray or white. The gray is usually used for the darker colors to give it more depth and value, and the lighter color is obviously for the lighter pigments.
So we've been talking about new work, new material, new parts, but you're also involved in restoration of old building elements, right?
Now this is a pure restoration here. We see this over and over again where there are items that were made by Meisner Industries, being that Meisner Industries at the time was the only manufacturer of cast stone products, whether it was a Wyeth or Byron Simonson, any of the other architects would have been buying from Meisner. So this is original Meisner product. This is a house on Seabreeze that we're doing a restoration on. Mm-hmm. This was brought to us by the contractor, taken off. As you see, it's very
badly repaired.
Restored, repaired, Bobby, as I refer to as a handyman special. So we've taken and stripped down the top part of it. The column, it ultimately is going to end up this full length. So what we do is we strip this down.
So this is the original detail.
This is the original detail.
Right.
And then we will create a box like this. We will pour this in rubber. Then we will take this rubber mold and we will pour plaster into that and make a sequence of sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth.
So this part gets discarded.
This part gets discarded. Then we doll this up and clay it up and make it as one continuous unit. Then we take the capital, which we have applied clay to and restored this to its original order.
Yeah.
That will be incorporated into this. And then the base, which we also have repaired, will go on to the end of that. So now we have a plaster section that has the capital, the shaft, as well as the base and plinth.
Sure. And you've got the mold so you can make dozens and dozens.
Yes, we put another box down the side of this port in rubber, and we will pour that. You'll be able to see the sequence of how this goes from original to the plaster to the extended mold to the finished product.
Great. So over here you've got a stack of what we call balusters, and they will form a railing, right?
They will show this. This is for a restoration project.
So it is for an old house?
Yes, this is 89 Middle Road. It's a Wyeth house that's being redone. The original balusters that we're reproducing were made with steel in them, and the steel blows out and rusts because you're on the ocean.
And it expands.
And so now we're using fiberglass as the reinforcement. We don't use steel anymore. So all these have the fiberglass rod continuously through for strength and stability.
Right. All right, so here you're making columns, right?
These are columns from particular jobs that we're working on right now. One is 101 El Brillo.
Okay, so will they be decorative or structural?
They'll be decorative.
Okay.
These are being used between the windows of an existing Meisner house. And what we did is replicated, took the originals down, remolded them, the capitals, the shaft, and now we're going to incorporate them back into the original house in a new form that matches the original 1920s
So
columns.
all those pigments that we were looking at, you have to match. You have to
Yes.
kind of get the color just
Yes,
right.
we do a color sample, several color samples to get it to match the original. Some of the cast stone is still left on the house, and this is a new that is deteriorated, and we're actually manufacturing the exact column again, an exact color that was existing.
Great.
So what they're doing here is what we call a juke, and that's where we pour the cement in, and then they vibrate it a little bit, which settles the cement out and fills all the little voids. These are rubber molds, so they actually will pick up all the detail of the original volutes and spirals and all those kind of things that are
Yes.
involved in it. So this takes approximately 24 hours to dry, so we could pull these out at night by noontime tomorrow. They'd be hard enough to pull out, and then it takes about 7 days for them to cure, or the final cure in 28 days. And then they're as good as ever. What we'll also do, it'll be in a smooth form, is we will treat it with acid, which will take the paste off and gives it a natural look, so it looks like a natural limestone, and it matches up to what the original Meisner technique was. And now you've seen the evolution of Herpel, the way we manufacture the material from start to finish. It's been done this way for approximately 165 years by my family, 6 generations. The process has been improved upon over the years, but pretty much the same way that it's always been done. Pretty much the same techniques were used prior to the Civil War that are still used today.
It's amazing what can be done.
Absolutely,
You know
modern
what you're doing.
technology, yes.
Thank you, Rick.